Yeah, go behind the lighting so I'm not looking at you. That's too distracting. Hi guys, it's Karen with Love Your Land, and it is worm bin day. Finally, we meant to do this yesterday and it just didn't work out. But before we start, I wanted to talk a little bit about why to have a worm bin and what purpose it serves, the benefits, etc. First of all, we have, my husband was just telling me the other day that he just heard a statistic that in the United States we throw out about 25% of our food, which I forget how many tons that is, but it's a lot. It's a lot of our food. I mean, if you think about like 25% of your food budget, money, your actual money is going in the trash basically. That's pretty significant. And I don't really think that that is going to change even with awareness, because we buy what we think we're going to eat, and then sometimes it gets eaten, and sometimes we move on to something else, and then it's rotting. And so a lot of you have compost bins outside. I do too, but I also have a really short growing season, as I've told you, and a short growing season also means a very short composting season. So that's number one benefit for me is I'm not going to be wasting all of the food that we're wasting. It's going to go to good use, and I can compost, I can vermicompost year round, because I'm going to keep these bins in my basement where it's pretty warm. Anyway, as promised, I'm going to have my husband Keith come over here and show us. Are you laughing? No.
You're cough.
Oh. Anyway, as promised, my husband Keith is going to show us how to make the worm bins, and then we'll talk about their bedding and their food and their care and all that stuff. So, everybody, this is my husband Keith.
Hi everybody. So our friend Travis taught us a little bit about, well, everything about the worm bin fabrication. So basically this is a 10-gallon bin, and we need to have holes in the bottom, perforated in the bottom, for the worm tea to drain out. And Travis recommended 1/8 inch holes, 1 inch apart. So that's what we're going to do with, I'll use a cordless drill and just start with drilling from the inside out, because we made a mistake in one of the first ones, and I know better than this, but anyway, we drilled it like this. We wanted to get it done fast and just started boom, 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 drilling holes down in here. And what that did was it left the plastic burrs on the inside, very sharp edges on the inside, with a grid basically of holes on the inside and all these burrs associated with it. So the right way to do it, to minimize any of the burrs, is to do it from the inside out into wood, have some wood backing, so that the plastic isn't pushing out into nothing, creating a burr. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm using some old plywood on some sawhorses, and I'm just going to start drilling these holes, 1/8 inch drill bit, approximately 1 inch apart.
All right, awesome. So I think while you do that, I'm going to go rehydrate the coir. That's what we're going to use for the bedding. Is that all right?
Sure.
All right, cool. I'll be right back.
All right, so I'm done drilling the holes, and as expected, drilling into the wood backing left us with no burrs at all on the exterior. This is from the manufacturing, this stuff right here, manufacturing of the bin. And just to let you know what we did, since we had those sharp burrs on the first one on the inside, wanted to mitigate any worm damage. I don't know how low they go, but we put some screen material on the bottom, just fiberglass screen material, which added a layer of bedding so they wouldn't have to, so they wouldn't get scratched. Okay.
So the next piece of the puzzle is the lid, and obviously worms need air and oxygen just like we do. So Keith's going to do that part too and tell us how to do it.
So what I did, this turns out being a 10 by 6. I just measured from this edge 3 inches in, 3 inches in, 4 inches in, 4 inches in. Seems like a reasonable amount of opening to get air. And then I'm going to use a jigsaw to cut this out. You could probably use a razor knife on something this thin, but my choice is the jigsaw. And to start that out, what I'm going to do is drill some larger holes here so I can fit the blade in to start the cut. So I'm going to do that with about a 3/8 inch drill bit. And again, using the wood backing to drill down into. I'm not really looking for a whole lot of precision here, just to give them some air. And then the other thing about this also is that if you don't have a jigsaw, you can just drill a whole bunch of holes. But Travis did mention that that he would prefer the opening, the full opening. But honestly, a bunch of holes will work as well. Okay, so...
Well, yeah, for me.
Oh, yeah.
This is not the key show. Alright, good.
Okay, so I'm done with the rough cut hole, approximately 10 by 6, very rough. I'm just going to deburr the edges real quick with this file. I'm not going to file the edges, I'm just using the edge of the file actually just to kind of get some of that plastic off of there. I'll do it from both ways. Again, just knocking it off. Plexiglass deburring tool would work perfectly here for this, but that's alright. Okay. So now we're going to lay some fiberglass screen.
So the worms don't get out.
Just regular old charcoal color fiberglass screen, and I think we don't know if this is gonna hold or not, but there's a couple ways you could do this to fasten the screen. I'm gonna use a strong industrial tape, and duct tape is fine. And another way would be to lay a bead of silicone here around and push the screen down into the silicone and let it cure. But I think this tape will hold, but we'll find out because it's obviously a moist environment. But this is pretty good tape. Certainly a lot quicker and less messy than silicone. There we have it. You see the taped screening material in there. That's what it looks like from the top. So there you have a completed bin, and there's more work to be done, and Karen is going to walk you through all of that.
Okay, well that was pretty nice of Keith to show us how to make worm bins. I really appreciate it. He made me 4. And so now I want to talk to you about what I put in here. I've already put the bedding and everything else I'm going to put in here, including the worms. I did that off camera, but just to give you that piece of the pie, what I did is I took 2 bricks of coir. You remember those bricks that I used, or I showed you in the seed starting video? I used 2 of those, and I put them in here, and you add hot water, and they just expand. And this thing, those little bricks, expanded and totally filled this whole thing, and it was pretty compacted in there too. So 2 bricks of coir. And then I added, excuse me, I have a cold and it just will not go away. I added 4 cups of fully composted cow manure. It has to be fully composted manure. It could be any type of manure you want, but it has to be fully composted, because if it's fully composted, how many times have I said that? You guys keeping count? The heat process is over with fully composted manure. So if it's not If it's fresh manure you put in here, or it's not, if it's partially composted, it's going to compost. And what happens when things compost? They heat up. Oh, I thought one was getting out. Anyway, the other thing I added was about a cup of worm castings. Sprinkled those in, mixed it all up, and then I put the lid on this, put it in a warm spot in the house, and just let it age for a couple, 2-3 days. Actually, this is the 4th day, so I let it age for 4 days. The reason for adding, by the way, the cow manure and the castings, I had to ask Travis because I was like, wait, why am I doing that? The reason why is a couple reasons. Number one, these two ingredients are going to sort of kickstart the decomposing of the materials in here. So that's what you want. You want things to get going for the worms' benefit. And the other thing is, worms don't like a sterile environment. So if I just used coir, they wouldn't be real happy and they'd probably be stressed out. So that's why you add that stuff. So once you have your worms in here, you're going to feed them about once a week. And you're going to feed them about a pound of food, of kitchen scraps per week. No meat, no dairy, just like your regular compost bin, just basically vegetables. You can use coffee grounds that have been brewed, tea that's been brewed, even the filters and the little bags from the tea. Don't let the staples get in there. And what you're going to want to do is blend it all up. So take your pound of food, but then put it in a blender and blend it all up. That way the worms can actually get through it quickly. If you just put like a stem from a broccoli in there, it's going to take them a long time to eat that and get through it and break it down. So blend it up for them. When you do that, you also want to add some form of grit. So usually people add ground oyster shells or ground regular egg shells, and you just add like maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons of that to their food and give it to them when you're feeding them. You put their food in a spot, just one spot. Don't try and mix it all around because you want to keep track of their food. Like Luke at MI Gardener says, he listens to his worms, and what he means by that is he puts the food in and he watches how quickly they eat it or how slowly. If they're eating it too slowly, if it's still there after 4 or 5 days, then you're giving them too much food. And the rule of thumb, probably the most important rule with worm keeping, is it's better to underfeed them than to overfeed them. And the answer is pretty obvious, but it's because if you overfeed them, the food's just going to sit in there and rot. And you don't want rotting material in your worm bin. You breaking down, yes, but the rate that they can actually consume that stuff that's breaking down. You also need to add water. You want your your bedding to be like a wrung out sponge, so you don't want it to be sloppy, wet, gross. Worms don't like that, but they do need moisture. So in my climate, it's going to be about every 4 or 5 days. I'm going to take a clean, unused weed pump sprayer thing and just moisten it. I think that's about it, actually. So again, I'm going to put the lid back on this so these guys stay warm because it's really cold out here. The benefits, look them up, Google them. I've talked about some of them, but the list is like endless. There are so many benefits to worm castings. And by the way, another benefit to having worm bins your own is the cost. So, for example, at my local nursery, one of them anyway, a little 4-pound bag of worm castings is $17. And a little bag like this isn't going to do me any good because I have a huge garden. So what I would need is to go up to the biggest bag, which is a 30-pound bag, I think, and it's $60. So this is free, and it's using food waste. So it's not going to go in the landfill, and we're actually doing something with the food that we're unfortunately wasting, or it's just scraps. And then finally, the cost of making these, you're probably wondering. I will tell you, I didn't have any of the materials for this. I don't know why, we just didn't. I didn't have any spare bins. I didn't have, we had this screen, so I didn't have to buy that. But here's how it breaks down. I did 4 bins, right? So I paid $26 for my bins altogether. I paid, because I had, in town, all we have are the little bricks of coir. They're more expensive than buying the big one that I talked about. Look for those big ones. It's much more cost effective. So I paid $64 for my coir, which is a lot. And then from Travis at TBR Worm Poop, I got 2 pounds of worms, the 5-pound bag of compost, the oyster shell, the castings, and the worm chow. Did I say that already? I don't know. Anyway, all of that together, he only charged me $40. So locals, that's another reason to go to him. He's like so much more reasonable than, say, the big box stores where you buy 1 pound of red wigglers for $40. I got 2 pounds of red wigglers and all of that material, including a 5-pound bag of compost, for $40. And the other thing I had to buy was a tray. You know those big oil pan things that you would put like under your car if it leaks oil? They're about as big as this table. It has a little lip on it, and so that's what I got because stuff does come out of the bottom, which is why you have the holes. And so instead of just simply putting that right on top of the tray, I'm going to put like a 2x4 under there, or not, but several, to keep it. No, I'll put them here and here. That's going to allow more airflow into the bin, which is good for your worms, and it's going to allow for that moisture to come out. So in total, I spent, for my 4 bins, including my worms, I spent $140. That sounds like a lot, and it is a lot of money, but I got 4 bins out of it. So that's $35 per bin, and that included my worms and all that other stuff that I talked about. You know, if you go to, if you order a worm bin online or get one from somewhere, they're $100 for one. So this is the way to go. Anyway, I think that's it. I hope I haven't missed anything. I have this huge list of notes because this is new to me too. But I'm really excited about it. Really, really excited about it actually. And so if, you know, I hope if those of you who have been sort of on the fence about this whole worm keeping business, I hope I've kind of nudged you over to the yes side because they're so beneficial in so many ways. So anyway, I'll do some updates on this and show you how these guys are doing and anything else I learn along the way, which I'm sure I will. And that's it. So until then, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.